So what is the key to multiple choice tests? The key is the same as to any other kind of test, or actually to anything really that you want to get good at, which is practice. Or another way of saying practice in terms of tests is self-testing. Okay, so practice or self-testing, same sort of thing. One thing I think that gets a lot of people into trouble with multiple choice tests or any other kind of tests is this word study. When people sit down to study, usually what that means to them is reading. Either reading the book or rereading their notes over and over again, which ends up a lot of times just being staring and not really getting a lot done. Certainly not practicing or testing in the way that's actually really going to help you on the test. Okay, so how do you go about doing these things? Sometimes, if you're lucky, multiple choice tests, we want to practice, or self-test. If you're lucky, as I said, your professor or teacher will give you some practice questions or even practice tests. So practice tests, practice questions. Maybe there are questions in the book or some kinds of study guide questions. And if you have these things, they're all great for practicing with. But the key is you actually have to use them as if they're questions on a real test. Okay? Which a lot of people don't do. Let's say they have some kind of practice question and they don't know the answer, so they'll go and they'll look at the answer, which may seem as if it's helping, but it really ends up being the same thing as the study, read, stare sort of thing. And it's not really giving you the same sort of benefit that self-testing does. Mainly because we learn from our mistakes. So you have to allow yourself to make mistakes, right? So we don't want to look at the answer. We want to get an answer on our own, even if we have no idea. Okay, and that's important. A lot of times that makes people uncomfortable. If they're not sure what the answer is, they just don't want to try it on their own. And what I usually tell people is that you'd rather do it now when you're preparing for a test than to be in the same situation on the test. And of course, if you get the thing wrong, then you can just look at the answer afterwards. Check the answer after. And it's just one more step, but you get a lot more benefit from it because, like I said, we learn from our mistakes. But what happens if, let's say, you don't have things like practice tests or practice questions or even questions in the book to use? One thing you can try is what I call blank page testing, and it's just what it sounds like. You just pull out a blank sheet of paper or you flip to a blank page in your notebook, and you think of whatever topic or concept you need to know about, and you then write, or a lot of times even better, you draw what you know. And it's a very simple idea, but it's very powerful because you can read something over and over and over again, or let's say in your textbook, you can look at a diagram of, let's say, the brain. That's supposed to be your brain. And you could stare at that for hours. But the second that you close the book and actually have to reconstruct this on your own, that's the moment when you'll actually learn it. So doing something like this can actually make your preparation much, much more efficient than just reading things over and over and over again.